All right, good evening. This is the Tuesday, September 3rd, City of Rollingwood Utility Commission meeting. And we will begin with roll call, starting to my left.
Clark Wilson.
Jonathan Miller.
Sam Attell.
Walter Rollison.
Christopher Meekin.
With that completed, we will move on to public comments.
We do not have anyone signed up for public comments.
No one for public comments. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda and discussion and possible action on the minutes from the June 4th, 2024 Utility Commission meeting. The minutes were included in the packet that was submitted or posted. Any questions on the minutes?
I was absent, so should I abstain or not? Or is trustee? I'm sorry.
Not necessary to abstain, but you're
Okay.
welcome to.
I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Motion to accept and a second, so we'll move to a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Moving on to the regular agenda. The first item is an update regarding the City Council resolution authorizing the mayor to engage in discussions with various entities regarding the securement of water rights, a contract for wholesale water service, and procure professional services related thereto.
Very official agenda.
I didn't write that. I just read it.
We did indeed. Well, yes, so I'd love to give you an update on this. So Mayor Massengill, unfortunately, is not able to be here tonight, or he would have liked to present this item to you all. But for the last couple of years, we had been, in conversations back and forth with LCRA. As you all know, we are wholesale customers of the City of Austin for our water. I believe our current contract is up in 2030. And there are some provisions in the contract that talk about at some point the City of Rollingwood may be required to secure their own water rights. Currently, we kind of fall under the City of Austin's water rights, and so they've allotted some of theirs to us. But we had begun these general informal discussions, and it became apparent that it was pretty much a good time to get our foot in the door pretty quickly with LCRA. And so that is what this resolution was. Generally, we would have brought it to the Utility Commission before going straight to council, but we were told that there was a little bit of urgency in at least getting this resolution passed and getting started on our application. And so at the last week or a couple weeks ago City Council meeting, they passed this resolution. What it basically does, it allows the mayor and staff, of course, to meet with LCRA to talk about, the things we might need to do to secure our own water rights. This resolution contemplates the cost of the water rights and how that would work, and then that would also require us to make some change to our contract with the City of Austin, because they would no longer, our contract is to purchase the water and for them to treat it, transport it to us, so it would change to some kind of just treat and transport contract as opposed to what it currently is where we purchase the water as well. So if we were to secure our own water, we wouldn't need as many of those services, so that contract would have to be changed. So this allows him to begin that kind of conversation with City of Austin, as well as to work with our city engineer, K. Fries and Associates, to develop all the stuff that is needed for this application for our own water rights. And so they've put in there that they would be able to help us with that and help us get all the associated attachments. It's pretty, it requires some information and some surveying and things like that. So they would be helping us with that here. And so that's basically the gist of it. This was approved by City Council, and so we have sent this over to LCRA and plan on beginning those conversations. And we feel like it's a really smart move towards securing our water into the future here in Rollingwood. So.
I guess a couple of questions I have. Is our mayor going to be supported by legal counsel and his discussions so as to know what to ask for and pricing and availability and timetables?
Oh, I'm sure. I think the pricing is pretty much set. I don't think that we get there's any negotiating happening in that. It is $155 per acre foot per year, if used, and then if we don't use the water rights, that's kind of how the water rights work. You pay for half of them if you don't end up using them. So we would secure a certain amount. We don't want to secure too many because, you know, we don't want to pay for more than we're going to use, but we also don't want to undershoot how much we're going to need in the future. So the cost is pretty much set. But yes, our legal counsel will be involved with, you know, all of the contracts. Our engineers are also they are the specialists and understand our, you know, our usage and that kind of stuff. So they've helped us come up with the estimate of 500.
With both the city of Austin and the LCRA, does it appear that we can get whatever quantity of water we need?
Yes, it does. Because we're, you know, so small. What we're looking for is 500 acre feet per year. It's you know, generally available at this time, but we do want to get in the door soon, because a lot of the communities around us are all doing the same kind of planning, and we had kind of heard from other cities, and I had actually been seeing it come up on our kind of you know, general news from local cities that they were all kind of starting this process, so we need to get in the door.
When you say that the pricing is kind of already set, is that to all municipalities our size, or are there commercial users that are getting a different rate or whatever?
I don't know the answer to that. I thought it was set across the board, but I can look into that and see if there's.
I think it wouldn't hurt to talk to, I don't know, if Georgetown and people like that are
Sure.
are doing it, but let's see what their posture is.
That's a great point.
I
We'll
mean,
definitely do
all
that.
by ourselves, we're not gonna have very much leverage, but if several municipalities got together, they might be able to do something.
That's true. Yep. Okay. Absolutely. We'll definitely bring that into the conversation. That's a great point.
So just for clarification, this is just changing the mechanics by which we access water. Currently, we purchase it through City of Austin, who's acting as a wholesaler, and for us, this is where we would actually be able to purchase it as we have water rights where we currently don't, right? So
Correct.
it kind of changes the mechanics, but at the end of the day, the water's still going to likely come from our existing source, which is the City of Austin, whether they're called our wholesaler or their position in it somehow changes. But that's all just contract
Right.
discussion. That doesn't really change the source of our water, who's treating the water. We're not building a water tower and buying water from another part of Texas and trucking it. I mean,
Nope.
this is really legality around how we go through the mechanics of purchasing water.
But,
Right.
but it does say, spare us from that clause in our
Right,
contract.
it makes us much more secure.
It says that someday you might,
Because that's supported by the
Need to
city,
get your own.
by the state
You
of
might need to
Texas
get your
and what
own.
they
Right.
have,
Which
or
is,
LCRA and how they
scary in
determine
some
water
cases.
rights and what
Sure.
comes.
Well, actually,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, come up.
I know we were all.
I was gonna ask, Councilman McDuffie, if you would tell us kind of your thoughts.
It makes us more secure because we don't have that trigger clause, as Clark was bringing up, that basically now we are, if we ever use, I believe, 75% of our maximum allotment at any given month, then that triggers a clause in the current contract that says, find your own water, get your own water rights. Now we're securing those water rights, and as Ashley said, the mayor got news that it was getting more and more competitive to get those water rights from a variety of municipalities, and that's why we have some urgency to move now to secure those rights.
That was my question. That was the catalyst.
Right.
That means, okay.
Right. I mean, I even saw it on the news, like, you know, Texas is growing, and we're kind of a dry state, so,
It's national news.
yeah, yeah.
Are these rights just for 1 year?
Do that was my next question.
I don't believe so.
I believe it's a 50-year contract that we would
Yeah.
sign with
50 year.
LCRA. I don't know if that's part of what we, you know, would, you know, negotiate with them, but a contract I've seen from the, you know, that they've done in the past had been for 50 years. And so we do want to, you know, ideally like it to go out, pretty far to make sure that we have, you know, secured our rights through that time.
And does the
But,
pricing change?
but the pricing is not set, they don't say this is the pricing and it's good for 50 years. They say
That's
year by
gonna,
year we'll adjust the pricing.
that's gonna depend on what the contract is. I'm not sure of what the, you know, future, you know, value of that they put that in the contract or how they'll do that. That'll all be something we'll have to to work
Well,
out.
well,
I mean, it would make sense if it would increase with
Will the
inflation.
mayor's recommendation come back through this convention?
Absolutely. We'll definitely keep, as this progresses, which we hope it does in the near future. We plan on getting our application together, so we'll definitely be continuing to keep the utility commission up to date and getting your feedback on that stuff as we go through. So,
Yeah, I think for like future meetings, the things that would be worth knowing are what happens with pricing over time. I'm also curious if we have I'm assuming our usage is going up, right? So like, is this number 50 years from now, I would think the volume is probably different that we're talking about.
possibly. So we've put in here a number of about 500 acre feet per year. I believe currently the highest we've ever used in a 1 year period is about 430. And they do calendar year, they do January through December. And when our engineers calculated that, it was on a rolling 1 year. They just wanted to know, like, what is the most possible we've ever used in a rolling calendar year, or not even a calendar year, just a rolling year. And so the 500 definitely gives us room for future growth that might happen. They've taken into account what could happen in our commercial district and tried to price in kind of the most extensive use
Could
that
we
would.
share that data of like the time series?
Excuse me.
Could we share
What-
the data of the time series of the usage, but usage by month or usage by rolling 12-month or even
I can
usage
see-
by calendar year?
Sure,
whatever's easy.
I can see if the engineers can get us that information. It's tough because we measure everything here in thousands of gallons, not the acre feet.
Yeah.
So that they've done some calculation, but I can try to get some more information on that to share.
I'm just curious what the trend is. I would assume it's
Mhm.
going up.
Do
Not
you,
significantly,
Oh,
because
really?
for the most part, we're built out.
Mhm.
Now,
That makes sense.
granted, houses are getting larger, we are
Yeah.
getting maybe a few more pools and things like
Yeah.
that, that's all being taken into consideration. As Ashley said, the only kind of somewhat big wild cards if something significant happened in our commercial corridor, where
Mhm.
we don't necessarily foresee a big water usage going into the commercial
Yeah.
corridor.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we're developed, our usage is gonna be relatively stable, plus the fact we've taken actions such as getting the electronic water meters so
Yeah.
that when we have, and we're fixing our water infrastructure now,
Yeah.
so we're not wasting water with water breaks and those type of
Yeah,
things, so.
hopefully.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's still, I would assume with things getting drier, that there's like to your point, there's like still
Could
some
be,
slight
yeah.
growth.
True.
Mm-hmm. And additionally, another thing that we talked about actually in the context of wastewater is that the older homes that are going, that are being torn down likely had a lot less efficient,
Yeah.
machines and things like that. And so ideally the new ones are also a little more efficient and probably, hopefully offsetting some of that cost. But it's just,
what's happened to our rate the last 3 years? What percentage or increase has there been?
We
Of the water we're
haven't-
buying?
our water rate has not increased in the last. So for sure, the City of Austin contract has been steady. They haven't increased the charge to us, and then we actually haven't increased the rate to our customers. The last rate increase we did, I believe, was wastewater. I think that was in maybe 2019 or 2020. I can't remember exactly when it was.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. We haven't had to raise any rates, and we do hope though with the electronic meters being in place, we'd like to get some data with those 6 months to a year, and then we do think it would be a good time to do a study of some sort to understand, now that we have a lot more precise data, are we charging enough? Are we charging too much? Do we need to adjust that? So something to look forward to in the next budget year.
Thank you.
Great. If there's no other questions, and kind of rolls right into this. The next thing is an update regarding.
Can I ask one
Oh.
last question? We get our water from the Texas Colorado River. Does it have constant supply? Because like the lakes are getting lower.
The Lower Colorado River Authority gets their water from all sorts of different places. So I'm not even sure.
'Cause I've heard Austin's only supplied by the Colorado River here. Is that not true? They're pumping it in from elsewhere?
I believe we're getting a lot
There's-
from the aquifers as well.
Are we? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ashley, it's Chris Kirksey. I'm
Oh, hi,
almost
Chris.
there, by the way, but the answer to the question is yes. Most of their water comes from the Colorado River.
Okay.
But over the last 10 years, they've stopped supplying rice farmers down on the coast who had priority more than anybody else. So they keep saying that they have more water or will have more water available.
Okay.
If it rains.
Yeah, yeah.
Get ready.
If it rains in Texas, in the right spot.
Yep.
Ashley, one other question.
Sure.
Have we had any discussions, as the mayor had any discussions with anybody at the city of Austin yet?
We have not. Our plan is to go to LCRA first,
Okay.
and kind of get our arms around that before talking to the city of Austin, because we would need the LCRA contract in place first before we can amend that contract with Austin.
Right. I'm just kind of wondering what they're going to charge us to treat the raw water
That is
and transport it.
That is the wild card. That will be something that we'll hope for it to, obviously our contract to go down significantly, but will all have to be something we negotiate with them. And all of those contracts will be brought back and, discussed again through Utility Commission and City Council.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Moving to the regular agenda item number 4, which is an update regarding the electronic meter project.
Yes, the electronic meter project is officially complete. So every meter in Rollingwood has been swapped out with an electronic meter. Very excited. This is great news. We've been
Well
trying
done.
to do this for 5 years, at least as long as I've been here. We've been talking about it, so very excited. It finished up. It wrapped up last month. We're already getting, now when we get calls from people to talk about their water usage, we have so much more information to share with them. We can often tell them, oh, well, this is very controlled usage. We see when your usage is happening, and we can tell them what hours they should be looking at. We can also point them to set up their own software, their own account with Ion Water, which is our software. I wish Veronica was here today. She wasn't. I was going to try to get an up-to-date number of how many people had signed up or how many accounts, but last I checked, I think it was around 80 or so. And so our goal is to get obviously every customer onto Ion Water. And so we'll be blasting that out over our rave notification soon. But we do have instructions on our website of how to log in, how to create your account. And then there's even a really good video that Badger, which is the meter brand we have, put on. It's probably a 5-minute video to show you kind of how to set up your account, how to set up your leak alerts, what you should consider to be high usage that you would want to set your alerts for. And so we're really happy with it so far. Like we mentioned earlier, once we have some more data with these, we would like to go back and do a rate study. And it's going to be so much easier to study our rates when we have all the data so readily available the way we have it with these meters. So we're very pleased so far. We, of course, have I think it's 10-year full and another 10-year prorated, policy on all of our meters. And so if anything goes wrong with them, we haven't had any issues so far, but we're happy to report that it's all going to be covered. So we're excited about that.
So that means you can see the data like hourly or like daily?
They report every 15 minutes.
Wow.
Mhm.
So you like log in and you can see it?
We can definitely, we can see each hour what's going on. Residents can see it that much too. There's a few off cases where the cell service is not as great and it doesn't give us a read every 15 minutes because it sometimes can't ping it, but for the most part, most all of our meters are going that quickly, so.
And all the commercial meters are also on,
Absolutely.
so you've done a cell phone service evaluation based on the meters, I guess you can tell us where we're at.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah. Yes, they did something before, and I can't remember. They did some, whatever the testing showed that it was going to be enough. It just has to be enough for a text to get out. So definitely not enough for a phone call at all times. But that's all the cell service that it requires is the amount to send a text message. So we've only got a couple that are having problems, and some of those are even there's a giant tree covering the thing, and so we're trying to work through those right now. But it's going great.
Can you,
I have a question. This is one of my pet peeves, I guess, this electronic system. If my wife said, I looked out at my yard and all along the curb line, the grass was this high. And then in the interior of the yard, the grass was this high. And I had my sprinkler system set for the same number of minutes at each station. So I couldn't understand it. And I thought, well, they dug the service that was putting in the new pipes in front of my house on Rollingwood Drive. They dug in that area, and then they came over and dug in my yard, and then decided they really didn't need to do anything in my yard, so that they later filled it up and left me with kind of a mess on the side of the yard. But when I had all this problem, I called Fidel, and he came over and he looked at it, and I said, I used to be a little red wheel here. And if that little red wheel was moving, I have a leak in the house. and I know I've got a problem and I can call my plumber. So I don't know if this problem here with all this leakage is my problem or the city's problem. So he said, just a minute, and he looked down at it, he says, I've got a machine in the car. So he goes and gets this device and he comes out and he puts it there and he reads it and he says, I don't think you have a leak in your house, I think you're all right there. And I said, well, how are you gonna be sure? He said, I'll go back to the office and ask Veronica and she could look at it and tell. So we've kind of really centralized this thing and have a meter that nobody could just look at and tell whether they've got a leak in their house or not. And I think that's kind of a poor situation. I mean, at least there ought to be some education that if you have a problem, you can go outside and look at your meter and tell whether you're running water.
Sure. Well, now you can just log into the app and you can actually see it without going out there. So I know it sounds like you had one of those leak detectors, and that was actually one of the frequently asked questions that we published about this was that no, you won't have that anymore, but actually, we can look at it real time and tell you if you have a leak, or you can look at it yourself if you create an account. And so I'd be happy to look offline. We can take a look at your property offline and see and make sure that nothing has happened in that area that's, on your side of the line or ours, but, that's...
Well, I know it was a great benefit to the city to have these electronic meters, but it's just kind of difficult for a layman to look at it and say, do I have a problem or not?
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Moving on to regular agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding update to the utility bill appeals policy.
Okay, so this one we don't expect any action tonight. We just kind of wanted to get a discussion started. Not that long ago, probably just it looks like in a couple months ago, we had looked at some amendments to this policy, and we feel that now with the electronic meters in place, it might be time to take a look at it again and decide what we think about the limits that we've set within this policy. Currently, we allow people a 6-month look back, and they can contest via, for having a leak for 3 months of their bill. And now, theoretically, with these e-meters, we should be able to tell much, much earlier if somebody has a leak. They could possibly know within a day if they've got their account set up. We generally do a weekly report that we pull here that will show abnormal usage. So it used to be we wouldn't catch that until billing time when our system would flag us and say, hey, this is extra high usage. Now we can pull that a lot more frequently. And so we just kind of wanted to get that discussion started. We're happy to go back and draft some, proposed amendments and bring them back. But if there was anything that the commission really wanted to discuss, related to this or wanted to give us any guidance, our thought is to definitely to lower that look back window, because now people should be catching their leaks a lot quicker, and then possibly to consider whether or not we still want to allow people to contest 3 months worth of leaks, because we do want to promote people fixing their leaks as soon as they know about them and not letting them continue to be an issue. And so just a discussion topic. We can talk about it now, or we can bring it back at a future meeting with some proposed language, but just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So do you have the ability to monitor everybody's usage for leaks? I mean, I know when I set up my account, you could set a threshold and it would send me an email saying you have a leak.
We can't do that with every single account, but we can pull a report that will tell us anyone who has. I think we would set a threshold of our own, and it would tell us if any account has exceeded that threshold. So we can pull that. I think we plan on doing that maybe weekly or every other week. It kind of depends. The more people we get online, the less we expect to have to do that ourselves. But so we can pull that information. A resident can put it, if they use over 1,000 gallons in 1 hour or whatever they want to set it at, they can get that notification.
It had the ability, so it caught my leaking hose bib. It was only like a gallon a day or something, but
Sure.
it found it and sent me an email. So
right, or a running toilet, like a slightly leaking toilet will catch that kind of stuff. So we really do want to kind of promote people being more responsible for those kind of things and taking care of them quickly.
And I believe Iron Water also does text messages. More immediate.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we table this for maybe 6 months and keep these dates in place and then see how it goes. And it might encourage people to sign up.
You said 80 people. It's not 80 people, not 80%.
Not 80%, no, 80
homes.
accounts, I
It's
guess.
80
So,
homes, there's
Mhm.
like 420.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a small percentage.
hmm and we only pushed it through the utility bill the previous month. We haven't done a rave yet. We would like to do a citywide rave. We've just been trying to wait to get through all the other things that required citywide notification. So
Okay.
we'll plan on doing that in the next probably month or so. Get that information out there.
I think people show they've signed up to get like a hot dog at the next.
Yeah, I was thinking that might
That's a good
do
point.
some
Maybe,
kind
yeah.
of
Yeah.
pull.
Yeah.
Sure, and we have Rollingwood Night out in 2 weeks from now, and so that might be another place we can promote that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So but I like that free hot dogs for
Yeah.
signing up. That's a good idea.
So if we think we might have a leak, we call Veronica.
Yes, if your system will alert you, so you call a plumber if your system alerts you and says, hey, you have a leak. But you're always welcome to call up here. She can pull up your data and walk you through. Sometimes we tell people, well, I have a leak, I'm sure of it, and we can look at it and go, well, the leak's only happening between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So it actually looks more like a watering schedule or something, and then they can go, well, maybe I did program my sprinklers wrong or something. So she has that kind of experience because she's been working with the system like this at her previous city before, so she understands kind of the nuances of that. So you're always welcome to call up here and we'll help decode what's happening with your meter.
Thank you. No, I agree. There needs to be a little bit longer of a period to get folks on, but ultimately the goal is to push some more of the responsibility back to the homeowner, given the amount and timeliness of data that we'll have access to. So at some point, it can't just be, well, we didn't know, or I think we all understand that was a large driver in this switch was to change the appeals process and say you have to be responsible for your own water, and we've given you all the tools you can possibly need for timely information. So understood. I think certainly as you think of language and want to have us consider language, we can say this is a language, it can go into effect in 6 months, but I think it's good that it's on the agenda in front of us to think about.
Sure, and we can collect some data too. We can see what the appeals, how many appeals we get between now and then, and what, how those kind of transpire, and we can kind of bring that information back. So we'll keep a running list. That's kind of what Veronica does. As things pop up, she keeps notes on, here's things we would like to possibly see in the policy. So we'll do that for the next 6 months or so, and then bring it back. I think that's a great point.
It was arbitrary. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Exactly, whatever we figured, but I agree that there still needs to be a transitional period for sure. Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 6, update regarding the policy for reimbursement due to water main line breaks.
This is just a quick update that the city council approved the policy that the utility commission approved, and then at their last meeting, they also approved the attached ordinance, which just gives them the actual code language authority to adopt that policy and to charge for those leaks, including the water loss. And so now that's fully in force and effect. So we are excited about that. Just wanted to update you all since that was something that this commission had worked hard on passing that policy. So thank you all.
Have we had any breaks yet?
Not since it was approved. No, not that we're
just itching to get that little charge out
we
there.
want to see one happen. I know. Yes, we do. As soon as we'll update you after we've had one, and we'll let you know how the water loss calculation worked out and stuff too,
It's gonna
because
be an
it was
interesting test.
it sure is. So
Thank you, appreciate it. And also moving on to item number 7, an update regarding the water CIP bond program packages 1 through 4.
yes, happy to report that we are moving through these very well. We have completed our phase 1 of the projects. We'll say that included the cul-de-sacs, and then Google Fiber actually was also able to come in and lay their fiber in those areas. Because as a reminder, we have to do our improvements, and then Google Fiber come in, and then us pave. So it's kind of a very, it's a strict schedule, and they've been fantastic. They're really willing to be flexible and come in waves and do their installation. So they did that. They put in their fiber in those areas, and we have now officially repaved. So we're very excited that we've seen kind of one set of the improvements all the way through. They did a fantastic job. The contractor's been really great to work with. They're also, now they've moved on to some, the next set of projects, and they're also working on the drainage projects at the same time. So Nixon Pleasant and Hubbard Hatley Pickwick, those are also in process. So you'll probably see crews moving around every day to different places. They aren't always staying in one spot. Sometimes they're waiting on, materials or things to be purchased for one project, and they're able to pull off and go work on another project. And so, it's great. There is no downtime. It's awesome. So they're working through the stuff. We still expect, a mid-2025 finish up for all these projects. So,
Quick question, the cul-de-sacs, those were having low pressure issues, are those being resolved?
it was a fire flow for most of those. You're right, it was low pressure. We actually are hopefully, we're trying to get it done before the end of the fiscal year, but we're going back and doing a citywide test of all of our flows to make sure that has increased there. So
They did replace the lines in all the cul-de-sacs?
not every single one, but all
Okay.
the ones that were on the
one by
list that
us,
had
they
needed
did.
it. Hmm.
Old Man Hatley's vintage pipes.
Yeah.
Right. And it may not necessarily be pressure as much as fire flow, just the availability of water is what I think they had upsized a lot of those lines. So I'm not an engineer, so I can't tell you where the line between availability and pressure is, but it's
I
supposed to
remember
improve it.
there was a lot of issues with people in cul-de-sacs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've kind of been in line the longest. They've sort of been
They
the
have
ones
been
that have
in
been on the
line
list
the
forever,
longest.
so that was why it was great to get those done first. So, but yep.
Great. Any other questions or comments on anything else?
Is it true that Google will be hopefully launching in the spring? Or do we know?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
We don't foresee finishing our last set of water stuff until probably mid-2025. So I don't know if they have plans to launch with what they do have in the ground, or if they have to get the entire city first. We haven't, we haven't had that kind of communication with them yet. So it's possible that they would. I would think that they might need, all of the infrastructure set. I don't know how that works, if they have to kind of bridge it from place to place, and if they could do it if it wasn't fully laid in the city. But we'll try to get some clarity on that for sure. Everyone's the most excited about Google Fiber when we talk about. Yeah, everyone's like, let's do this. So, yep.
Great.
Just one, I
Sure.
apologize for being late, and I couldn't hit the unmute button fast enough. I think the rate that you were talking about with the LCRA, I think those are standard rates for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of it, they bought some irrigation water rights downstream from somebody, and part of that agreement was that everybody had to have the same rates.
So,
Forever? Or you don't know?
I don't know how long.
Yeah, it doesn't-
I haven't, I have to go find that agreement.
I'm not sure I understand the Google Fiber installation. They're only putting cable in the ground where we have dug up for sewer line, either sewer lines or water lines. Or
they're doing the entire city. It's just we don't want to have one more thing that conflicts when we go in to do our water lines and our drainage stuff. So they will do the entire city. I don't know if they're going to do that during the second phase, or which phase they're going to piggyback on those areas that aren't being touched. That'll be kind of up to them and how they roll out their phasing. But it's going to be citywide. It's just we don't want to have to work around them and let them put them in now and then us hit Google Fiber lines.
I have seen them do a citywide installation, and when they did, it was kind of a mess. Everybody, I guess, has an easement so that utilities can be placed on your property within so many feet of the curb line or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the city went ahead and negotiated, in that case, a deal with them. Well, okay, you can go in 6 feet or 5 feet or whatever it is and put your lines through the yards of everybody.
Ours are
And
going into the street.
Ours are going in between the curb and the street. There's
Mhm.
a 1 inch,
Yeah.
from what I remember, in
well,
between the curb and the street.
I'm
and
starting
they
to say
cut
that's a lot different from what they've done elsewhere.
Mhm.
It's kind of curious to.
Right, it's much less invasive, and then we have had that discussion with them because we have variable right of way. We don't always have, we don't always know that we have 5 feet or 6 feet or 10 feet, and so from what our understanding is they're going to be talking to each homeowner, and they won't be laying those service lines unless they have a customer with that resident, and so they'll stub everything out. They'll get the main service lines done, and then as they gain customers, they'll go in and do the yard installation part.
Okay.
So.
Okay, great. With that, we will adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
So, we got this.